All right, ready to dive deep? Today, we're going to be exploring Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, all about rewiring your mind for success.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Dispenza.
Yeah, the guy who, healed his own spine just using his thoughts.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible stuff, after, a really bad accident, too. So, we're going to kind of unpack his core ideas, what really sticks out, and hopefully, spark some new thinking for all of you out there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty radical concept, right? Like Dispenza says, our minds, they don't really know the difference between what we imagine and what's actually happening, like, around us. So those repetitive thoughts we all have, whether they're, good or bad, they're actually rewiring our brains, like physically.
Okay, so hold on. So it's not just about positive thinking, like, I'm happy, therefore good things will happen.
Right.
There's a real biological basis for this, like how our thoughts are impacting us.
That's exactly it. Like Dispenza, he actually ties all of his experiences to neuroscience. So every thought, it's like it triggers this chemical cascade in the brain. And then that leads to emotions and then even physical responses in the body. It's not just like woo-woo stuff. It's like actual science.
Okay, this is intriguing, but I'm also a little freaked out now. So if my thoughts have this much power and I keep replaying that super embarrassing moment from, last week, am I making things worse?
That's where the idea of breaking free from like those old patterns comes in.
Okay.
So Dispenza says we get stuck in these cycles, right? The same thoughts, making the same choices, and then, same outcomes, which are oftentimes lousy.
Yeah.
And it's not because we're flawed or anything. It's because we're conditioned. It's like learned behavior. And often it's unconscious too.
Right.
But the good news is anything that's learned can be, unlearned.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, we all have those habits, right, that we wish we could just break.
Right.
But Dispenza, he healed his spine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just changing a habit. That's defying medical odds. How does that fit in all of this?
I mean, that's what makes his story so powerful.
Yeah. Right.
He literally used mental rehearsal. So vividly imagining his spine healing, like feeling all the sensations of being healthy as part of his recovery. And you know what? There's actually research to back all this up. There was this study with basketball players.
Oh, I think I've heard of this one. They imagined shooting hoops.
Yeah.
And they improved almost as much as the players that physically practiced, and it had something to do with neuroplasticity, right?
Exactly. Neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
The brain's amazing ability to change its structure and function.
Yeah.
So if you vividly imagine yourself doing something over and over again, it's almost like you're practicing it in real life. You're creating those neural pathways.
Okay, so I'm starting to get the connection here, but let's be real. Most of us, we're not, trying to defy spinal injuries. We're trying to, get that promotion or find a better relationship, just everyday stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
So does this mental rewiring thing actually work for, that kind of stuff?
That's where it gets really interesting. So Dispenza argues that most of us, we're either dwelling on the past or we're worrying about the future. And we're totally missing out on the power of the present moment to actually change things.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I'm a champion overthinker. But what's so special about the present moment?
Yeah.
Why can't I just visualize my dream job from bed and just, make it happen?
Well, because if you're always replaying the past or you're always fearing the future, you're never fully present to create something new. The present moment, that's where you have the power to actually choose a different thought, a different feeling, a different action. You're unconstrained by what's already happened or what you think might happen.
So it's about being aware of what's going on in our minds right now.
Yeah.
And then, making a different choice.
Exactly. Dispenza, he talks about this woman who struggled with anxiety for years, and she finally broke free by realizing that it was a habit. She became aware of those anxious thought patterns.
Right.
And then in the present moment, she chose to focus on something else. Appreciating the beauty around her.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all of these pieces kind of fit together now, but how do we actually do this?
Yeah.
How do we shift from being stuck to actually, being in control of our minds. All right, so we've kind of established that our thoughts, they have this incredible power, but they can also like really trap us in these negative cycles.
Yeah.
And being present, that's key, but it's definitely easier said than done. So how do we actually break free from those old patterns and start, rewiring our minds for the success we want?
So Dispenza, he talks about this idea of uh, breaking the habit of being yourself.
Okay.
And he doesn't mean like literally changing who you are, of course.
Right.
But breaking free from those like automatic reactions,
Yeah.
the same old thoughts and feelings that keep leading to the same results.
So it's like we're hitting the reset button on our mental programming, but like where do we even begin? It feels kind of overwhelming.
Right. So Dispenza, he suggests like starting each day very intentionally.
Okay.
So instead of waking up and like immediately grabbing your phone or stressing about your to-do list,
Yeah.
you take a few moments to just be present,
Yeah.
He recommends things like meditation or mindful breathing.
Okay, so we're kind of creating this space for something new just by like quieting all that mental chatter.
Right.
But I'm guessing it's more than just like silencing the noise, right? Like we need to actively replace those old patterns with something else.
Yeah, you got it. It's
Like-
about consciously choosing the thoughts and feelings and behaviors that align with the future you want to create.
Yeah.
And Dispenza, he calls this mental rehearsal.
Mental rehearsal. So we're essentially like practicing our desired reality in our minds.
Yeah.
Kind of like like athletes visualize themselves, winning a competition or something.
Exactly. So you create a really vivid picture of yourself actually experiencing the outcome you want.
Mhm.
And you're engaging all your senses, like feeling the emotions as if it's already happening. And the key is like total immersion in that imagined experience.
So like if I want to attract more abundance, I wouldn't just think to myself like I'm rich.
Right.
I would actually visualize myself like living that abundant life.
Yes.
And feeling the joy and the gratitude, maybe even imagining like specific things that abundance would, bring.
Precisely. You're like embodying it, not just thinking about it.
Right.
And as you repeatedly do this, you're essentially rewiring your brain to expect and attract abundance into your life.
That's where the science of neuroplasticity comes back in, right?
Yeah.
We're literally changing the structure of our brains through this repeated mental rehearsal.
Yeah.
But what about when those old negative patterns like keep creeping back in?
Yeah.
I mean, and it can't be easy to just like shut them off overnight.
You're right. It takes effort and practice. Dispenza compares the mind to a record player that's stuck in a groove, and it's playing the same song over and over again.
Ooh, I like that. I like that analogy. So how do we break free from that old groove, and start playing a new tune?
So awareness is like the first step. So
Yeah.
when you catch yourself slipping back into those negative thoughts, you acknowledge them, but without judgment. And then you gently redirect your attention back to the present moment.
Yeah.
And the vision you're creating.
So it's not about like suppressing those thoughts
Right.
or pretending they don't exist. It's more like becoming a curious observer, noticing those patterns without like getting swept away by them.
Exactly. And the more you practice this, the more space you create
Yeah.
between those thoughts and your reactions.
Mm.
And that space, that gives you the power to actually choose a different response, one that's more aligned with your desired reality.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I'll be honest, it also sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not just about like thinking positive thoughts. It's about actively rewiring our brains,
Right.
creating new habits of thinking and feeling.
You're right. It's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
Dispenza, he actually compares it to going to the gym.
Okay.
You wouldn't expect to see like huge results from working out once and then never going back. It takes consistent effort to build those mental muscles.
So we need to be patient with ourselves and trust the process,
Yeah.
We might not see those huge shifts overnight, but with consistent practice, we can start to shift our reality.
Yeah.
But are there any like specific techniques that Dispenza recommends for like shifting our thoughts and emotions in those moments when we're like really struggling? Like what do we do when we're like spiraling?
There are a few. One powerful one is called gratitude on demand.
Okay.
It's pretty simple, but it's incredibly effective. So essentially, you consciously shift your focus to something you're genuinely grateful for, even when you're feeling like stressed or anxious or down.
So instead of like dwelling on what's wrong, you're actively seeking things to appreciate,
Yes.
no matter how like small or insignificant they might seem. Is it really that simple?
It can be.
Yeah.
It could be the warmth of the sun or a delicious meal or a funny text from a friend. The key is that you're consciously choosing thoughts that make you feel good.
That makes sense. We've talked about how thoughts, they trigger these chemical reactions in our brains.
Right.
So by choosing thoughts of gratitude, we're flooding our brains with those feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. And those chemicals, they had this powerful ripple effects,
Mhm.
like reducing stress, boosting your mood, and even impacting your physical health.
Wow.
Like a natural mood booster and stress reliever.
Gratitude on demand. I love that. It feels very actionable, something you can do like right in the moment. Are there any other techniques Dispenza recommends for like quickly shifting our emotional state?
Another powerful one is heart coherence.
Heart coherence. I'm not familiar with that one. What is that?
So it's about consciously shifting your focus to your heart
Okay.
and generating feelings of love, compassion, and appreciation.
Hmm.
Dispenza, he explains that the heart, it actually has its own electromagnetic field, and it's way more powerful than the brain's.
Wait, really? So we're not just talking metaphorically about the heart being like the center of emotion. There's actual science behind this.
Right. And when we cultivate those feelings of love and gratitude, it creates this state of coherence in the heart's energy field.
Hmm.
And this can actually influence brain waves and create a more positive emotional state.
Okay, my mind is blown. So we're not just thinking positive thoughts. We're generating this powerful energy from within that can shift our like entire being.
That's the idea. And Dispenza, he suggests that this heart-centered coherence, it can even impact the people and events around us.
Mm.
It's like a ripple effect of positivity.
Wow, I need a minute to process all of this. So just by cultivating these positive emotions, we're,
Yeah,
we're not only transforming ourselves, but also potentially contributing to like a more positive and harmonious world.
exactly. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
And the more we practice these techniques, the more we realize that we're not victims of our circumstances,
Yeah.
but we are creators of our own reality.
This has been an incredible journey so far. We've explored the science of how our thoughts shape our reality,
Right.
the power of mental rehearsal and presence, and even some practical tools for shifting our emotions in the moment. What's resonating most with you from what we've covered so far?
Okay, deep divers, we're back for the final part of our exploration into rewiring your mind for success, all with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm.
And, we've learned that our thoughts, they really do have the power to shape our reality.
Mm.
And we've even, uncovered some tools for shifting our mindset, getting out of those ruts.
Right.
But let's be honest, changing those deep-seated thought patterns,
Yeah.
it's not always easy, is it?
No, you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
We're talking about like rewiring neural pathways that have been ingrained over years, even decades.
I mean, think about it. If you've been thinking and reacting in a certain way for most of your life, it's going to take some serious effort to change that.
So it's not just about like slapping on a positive affirmation and just hoping for the best,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We're up against some pretty powerful forces here, like our own brains.
Okay.
What are some of the roadblocks that people hit when they try to put these techniques into practice?
So Dispenza, he talks a lot about the tendency to get discouraged when, we don't see those immediate results.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world of instant gratification.
Right.
So it's natural to want those overnight transformations.
Oh, yeah, I feel that. You visualize that dream job,
Right.
you do the gratitude exercises, and then, like, nothing. It's easy to just fall back into those old patterns of doubt and think this stuff just doesn't work.
Exactly. But it's so important to remember that real lasting change, it takes time.
Hmm.
It's like planting a seed.
Mm-hmm.
You nurture it, you water it, and you give it time to grow.
You don't dig it up every day to see if it's sprouted yet.
I love that analogy. It's such a good reminder to be patient with ourselves and trust the process. But how do we actually cultivate that patience?
Right, yeah.
Especially when we're facing setbacks or those old fears just keep popping up.
So Dispenza, he emphasizes self-compassion,
Okay.
you know? We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all have moments of doubt.
Right.
So instead of beating ourselves up, we can view those moments as opportunities to learn.
So it's about like acknowledging those slip-ups without judgment
Yeah,
and just, gently guiding ourselves back on track.
exactly.
No need to go into a shame spiral because we had a negative thought.
Right, right. It's also crucial to like celebrate those small wins along the way. Each time you catch yourself falling back into an old pattern
Yeah.
and you make a different choice, like you're strengthening those new neural pathways.
It's like we're building mental muscle, like
Yeah.
one rep at a time.
You know, those small victories, they might seem insignificant in the moment, but they're laying the foundation for lasting change.
Right. Another challenge Dispenza talks about is, the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
Like stepping outside of our comfort zone,
Yeah,
creating a new reality, it can be really scary.
that makes sense.
Like
It's like we're leaving behind the familiar, even if it wasn't all that great,
Right.
and stepping into this uncharted territory.
Yeah.
There's a certain security in what we know, even if we know it's not serving us.
What's interesting is that Dispenza, he suggests like embracing the discomfort.
Okay.
He sees it as a sign that we're stretching and growing.
So instead of like resisting those feelings of uncertainty, we can lean into them, knowing that they're just part of the process of breaking free from our limitations.
Precisely. He encourages us to view those challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to create something truly extraordinary.
Okay, that's a powerful shift in perspective. It's not about avoiding the discomfort, but reframing it as part of the journey.
Right.
But how do we actually like move through those fears, those doubts? How do we keep going when it feels scary?
So Dispenza, he talks about the importance of faith, and he's not necessarily talking about like religious faith,
Okay.
but rather like a deep trust in ourselves
Mm.
and in the process of creation.
So believing in our own potential to create the life we want, even when we can't see the full picture yet.
Exactly. It's about
Yeah.
having the courage to take that leap of faith,
Yeah.
knowing that we have everything we need, like within us.
We've talked about patience, self-compassion, embracing discomfort, and having faith. What other gems of wisdom does Dispenza offer for overcoming those, inevitable challenges on this journey of transformation?
One more I think is really important is letting go of attachment to specific outcomes.
You mean like not getting so fixated on the end result that we miss out on the journey and all the possibilities that unfold along the way?
That's it. It's about trusting that the universe, or however you want to think about it, it has a plan, even if it doesn't look exactly how we pictured it.
So surrendering to the process,
Yeah.
being open to surprises.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what we think we want isn't actually what's best for us.
Right. And when we let go of that rigid attachment to a specific outcome,
Hmm.
we open ourselves up to possibilities we may have never even imagined.
Wow, we've really covered some powerful ground in this deep dive into Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. From the power of thoughts to the importance of mental rehearsal, presence, and even like practical tools for navigating the challenges.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey. What stands out to you as the most impactful takeaway?
For me, it's the realization that we are not just products of our past. We are powerful creators of our future.
Mm.
We have the ability to choose our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And in doing so, we
Right.
can rewire our brains and transform our lives.
I couldn't agree more. It's both like empowering and humbling to recognize the immense power we have within us.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration.
Mm.
The more you delve into these concepts and practice these techniques,
Yeah.
the more you'll unlock your own unique potential to create a life filled with, joy, abundance, and purpose.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into rewiring your mind for success. And remember, the power to create the life you want, it lies within you. So, what future reality are you going to start creating today?